promotions, youth. Any event that you see us do, any promotional ceremony we have, any award ceremony you have, you're going to see youth around. I want somebody, we had a guy play the classical guitar. I had no idea. He's one of the youth commissioners. He's #2 in the state. He played guitar at our last police graduation. Young man that plays violin, he's like 11 years old. He's amazing. He's amazing. I picked it up and he's like, no, that's not how you hold it, But I want youth involved in everything that we do. I want youth of the city to know that they're important, that I feel that they're important. I want my officers to see that my passion for youth. When I got here, if you wanted to be a lieutenant or a sergeant, we'd sit down, we'd go through a process. You sit down with me one-on-one and make a decision. Now we have a panel interviews for the final stage. It's myself, one of the assistant chiefs, and community member. We used Dr. Beverly Ashburn to help me with promote our sergeants in this department, our last round, and I used Happy Witt, who is on the board with the YMCA. She helped promote our last lieutenants. I think that's important. Citizens ask different questions and they look at things different. I want to know, do you know the policy? How would you handle this situation? Citizens really get into what? How are you going to handle our kids in our neighborhood? What are you going to do? How do you feel about the community? Brings a different perspective. Mike Grinstead in the back, we have a use of force review board. So right now, if you were to come out and anything on my belt, with the exception of a firearm, you mace someone, you tase someone, you use our ASP, we're in a fist fight, and that's called a force, use of force. Any use of force, we do a report. When I got here and submitted through, I looked at it, I signed off on it, in policy or out of policy. I made that decision. I don't think that's transparent enough. Times change. Now we have a use of force review board with an officer, a sergeant, a lieutenant, a captain, an instructor from their training academy, how they're actually taught in the academy. It's one of our internal affairs, and 2 citizens. The only prerequisite is the citizen that would have gone through the Citizens Academy to have some background of what we do. But citizens, all of the officers have body-worn camera, and they see the footage, unedited. They see officers say things that they shouldn't say to citizens. They see citizens spitting on officers, unedited. Mike chairs that, and it's in policy, out of policy, or in policy with recommendations, right? So, I won't pick on you so much here. I know I give you a hard time. So, chase this young man. We get into it. I assault him in a fight. He's got warrants on file. I mace him or OC and make the arrest. But he has mental issues. So by policy, everything the officer did is accurate. It's a good arrest, right? However, if I know that this individual has some mental issues and I've been to this address before, and every time we go there, there's a confrontation. Maybe could I send 2 or 3 officers instead of just 1? Maybe could I send a female officer if he relates better to a female, right? Those are things that we try to improve on, so we also use it in training. And the last thing I'll say about that, Mike does a great job with that. I try to interact with the citizens and ask them how they feel about it after those meetings. The last young lady, she said, this is not what I expected. She said, when I go back to talk to my students, I'm going to tell them this. Some of the things that they're doing here that they say force, we're separating more than that in some of our schools. And I said, well, where do you work? She said, I'm an assistant principal, not Hermitage, Heritage. Richmond's Hermitage, here it's Heritage High School. And I thought I really enjoyed that conversation with her insight of what, she deals with youth every day. I thought that was really cool. So that's just trying to be much more transparent. I think that's important. I want to expose this department and open it up to our community. But those are just some of the things. I've talked way too long. You guys got some questions?
I have a question that I guess relates to businesses and probably like petty larceny or stuff like that, where people come in and they take things off the shelves and walk right out the store. Because especially the larger businesses have a policy of don't touch, don't chase, don't follow. Right. My daughter works at the mall, and in their store, once they step over the line of the door, yep, you can't do anything. And the process of actually getting somebody to stop, getting a security guard there, getting the police there, do all this, and then to prosecute it or anything like that is so much paperwork.
It's going to cost you more than the item that they stole.
I know we saw somebody stealing from Ace Hardware from our car And we followed, turned around, followed, got the license plate, you know, description of the car, all of this. We talked to the people who came running out of the store once they realized what had happened, and then found some other information in the same location that might have tied it back to who actually stole it. But I don't think Ace Hardware ever filed a complaint that a $200 or $300 piece of equipment was stolen from their store, because they don't want the hassle. Where do you draw the line with, you know, you say if you see something funny, give us a call, we'd rather check and make sure, whereas a lot of businesses just let the stealing go on and on and on because they don't want to get involved or it's not worth their time. But it could be the same people stealing over and over again from different stores because they know they can get away with it. They know everybody's policy is don't chase, don't touch once out of your building.
You're absolutely right. Val, you want to hit that before I do?
One thing I was going to say is, like, if you see something, go ahead and call us, because we would rather get 10 calls on the same thing than nothing at all. Because even if we came out, let's say Ace doesn't want to report something, when we come out, we make contact with those people, we might even already see stolen items in their vehicle or something. That could go ahead and lead us to go ahead and check in and find out what's going on or anything too. One thing I've been telling from the stores too, is when you have problems, don't want to report things and all too, is I let them know if your store has a reputation of always having people taking things and stuff, then your regular, I call business customers, who are actually paying customers or anything else, are going to get discouraged. They're not going to feel safe there, and they're not going to want to come in there and all too. That's one of the reasons I did contact Beth, because I am trying to work on some business stuff, and we've been in contact with each other. But let people know, because sometimes we find that there's a lot of times with any kind of larcenies and things, there's always usually a pattern. Like you said, there's usually a group of people who are doing it, committing it. When people don't report it or anything else too, then we don't have that information. But by the same token too, one thing that can help us with reducing robberies and stuff too is businesses we need you guys to really, if you can, if you haven't already, have cameras on your businesses and stuff. And one thing that really worries me or concerns me is some of the banks I've been visiting, some of the banks don't want to put a camera on the very front entrance. They told me the reason they don't is because they said they don't want to make the customers feel like they're being watched. You know, if I go into any kind of banking institution, if I'm going there for legitimate reasons or anything else, I'm going to feel good there's a camera and everything there. But when we look back and we review a lot of things with bank robberies, a lot of times we find out, you know, you always, I know this sounds funny, but how many times you ever see on TV, a person walk in the bank with a mask on or everything else, and you know, people go, why didn't they see that out in the front? Because there's no camera out front. So the people, they kind of scout out, they know it, they can walk right up to the front, put that mask on, walk in, walk out, take the mask out. So we have a description of clothing, but if they take a jacket off, the mask off, totally different. So try to get some crime prevention tools. Not, you know, I can get you all that stuff too and everything too, but report something, and I know I did that and dropped that one too. But like I said, sometimes the businesses are, they're just, you know, no big deal, because they'll get more of the insurance loss reporting it like that way than they will, you know. But we need to work on people's mentalities, really stress to people that, you know, you want these good business customers, paying customers, to feel safe in your store, to want to frequent your store and things like that too. We have to start changing the mentality a little bit too.
So let me hit on two things that Val said. One thing is, well, we kind of restructured the department. The other is we are not going to be an inventory loss record management system, right? So when people do inventory at the end of the month or at the end of the week and, oh, we're missing XXX, it must have been stolen, we're not taking those reports. We ain't doing that. And if there's a particular business that continues to have theft and aren't doing anything about it, then we're going to have some strong conversations. Jill may talk a little bit about one of the businesses she's dealing with. But if I'm going back to the same business and I'm seeing alcohol come out of there at the same time and ain't nothing happening, we ain't changing anything, you aren't moving, maybe there's no environmental design, there's no crime prevention, that's a problem for me. It's got to be a partnership, right? The other thing is, I got 6 detectives in the precinct. They handle about, let's say, 500 reports. That means the way we were doing it 6 months ago is if you had something stolen, I'd come and take a report from you, I'd give it to the detective and put this 501 and good luck with that. So they're focusing in the precinct, they're focusing on burglaries, they're focusing on auto theft, and now they've got all these reports of larceny and theft. So what we've tried to do is take all that away from them, and now my precinct detectives, we talked about decentralization, right? Robberies, burglaries, and auto theft. That's all I want them investigating. So the everyday beat officer, remember that beat concept? Driving that area, knowing your neighbor. So I want the patrolmen, I want them in being the investigators on those cases. On that smaller stuff, larcenies, car break-ins, property damage, shoplifting. I want the officers to handle that. I want officers to take, what would I get out of having an officer patrol a certain area, and they handle the reports that come out of there. Instead of just writing off and sending it to it, what would I get?
Ownership.
Right, and I'm thinking if you're a
Exactly.
business owner and you're calling and you're saying a guy that was 5'6" walked out of my store wearing this, maybe they can't go catch that guy, but
That's
in
right.
one day, the next day, another guy, 5'6", walks out of a store down the street, and they're seeing a pattern so they can look for that person
That's
as
right.
they drive by, even if you're not doing an official
That's right.
report, just kind of that heads up.
So it's important for me, I've got 450 officers in this department. The majority of those officers are in patrol. I think we miss our buck with what patrolmen are doing. They're the ones out there, they see it, they're out there 24 hours a day, they're in each neighborhood, and I want to increase accountability and ownership. And for the most part, what I'm seeing is I think maybe even if half buy into it, right? Half, it tells me who are my best investigators, they're learning, that they know the businesses. And instead of you getting a call from a detective, it's an officer stopping in that store that's on their beat. That's at least what I'm trying to push. We just had our budget process. I'll be transparent and tell you what I asked for. We have 450 officers. I asked to increase this department from 450 to 500 over the next 5 years. I asked for 10 new officers each year for the next 5 years. The city council and city manager gave me 50 today. I couldn't train them all, but I can do them incrementally. We haven't had an increase in manpower in about 12 years, but I'd like to go from 450 to 500 over the next 5 years. I'd like to put 30 more officers in patrol. Let's say ballpark 10 in each precinct. I'd like to create a traffic division that deals with, every time there's an accident in this city on Jefferson or Warwick, those streets are shut down for a while. I want traffic enforcement, I want investigators. The judges tell me our traffic enforcement is down by about 25–30%. We're not writing as many tickets. We're doing other things, but traffic enforcement is important. I'd like to have half of that group be motorized and the other half be in vehicles. Day and evening shift, rotate. We're not just working day shift Monday through Friday here, right? Might even work some weekends. So that's 40. Then some special things. I'd like to have 2 officers dedicated to address issues with homelessness. I'd like to put 1 or 2 more officers in our community youth and outreach division. I want a detective that oversees our domestic violence. I'm in every high school, every middle school, but you know where I'm missing? I'm not touching kids in elementary schools right now, right? If there's an event, I can send an officer to stop by, but I don't have that. And I don't know if I go to city council, I think we have 26 elementary schools. I need 26 officers in elementary school. I'm not sure how Dr. Cherry feel about that. But if I had 3 officers that I could divide that up, that you one officer hit 5, whether they go into the library and read to a kid, whether we're going to a lunchroom and just have lunch in the cafeteria, something. I've got to do more with the elementary kids in the school. So homeless, there's one other, and because of our, more and more, believe it or not, more and more is required of law enforcement today. That we are expected to know how to deal with mental issues. We are expected, autism is huge. We are expected to deal with overdoses. You know, I had more deaths and overdoses in Newport News than I had homicides. That's a huge problem across our nation, East Coast, all over. I had 33 deaths from opioid overdoses. But that's kind of what I would like to see us expand to and specialize in some of those things. We just opened the one-stop day center. It's a service center for individuals that are homeless that need help and assistance. I'd like to have 2 officers and kind of work with that group to get people the right resources they need. Some of that's mental illness, I understand that, but some people are, down and just need to be connected with the right resource. And now we've got that one resource center. I think that's huge. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time. Yes, sir.
Enjoyed everything you had to say.
That's what my command staff says, and they laugh at me when I walk out. I don't know. I don't know how to take that.
Now, with businesses, will we have the same?
Chief Reese gave me 10 bucks to say.
He did.
I was going to ask you with like the patrols of businesses, like I see an officer now come through my cul-de-sac, I guess you call it there, at the end there, and kind of sit. Is that like, are we going to start kind of seeing that? Is that what you're kind of saying?
So
and maybe getting to know the person that's patrolling my business or area?
I will tell you where we're moving to.
Okay.
Where we're moving to is there are That's a great question. Hold on, what'd you have? Maybe I can answer yours quick, because that's in depth, that's a good
Well,
one.
it's not really a question, it's just the way we
Yep.
handle what you're talking about, walkouts and stuff, and part of the problem on it. But my staff is trained, if the person's 9 and dash walkout, they go outside and say, excuse me, we think you forgot to pay your check. They start, flipping in a bird, telling them off, just step back inside the door, write down their tag number.
Yep, that's good.
Please respond.
Yep.
The first thing, usually 9 out of 10 times, they tell me it's a misdemeanor, and then I inform it's defrauding the innkeeper.
Right.
Defrauding the innkeeper is a felony, and we go all the way through to conviction. We've probably got 100% conviction rate.
That's good.
Our walkouts are way down because
They know you're not playing
They
around.
know.
right, we know we're not playing.
That's it.
We're going to go out, whatever
That's
it
it.
costs, we're going after you.
Yep, you're exactly right, and it just takes a while, it's not
But
about
we're
overnight.
giving them the opportunity
Yep,
to make
you're
themselves
trying.
good by going, we believe you forgot, you had
Yep.
to quiet, come
That's
back in.
Yeah,
pay."
it's not confrontational, you're right. So your point, there are 4 beats in each precinct. Right now, I have lieutenants that are assigned a time frame. So I have a daytime lieutenant, evening, and midnight. So if I ask, let's take this area, Denbigh area, right? What's the crime in Denbigh? I gotta go to 3 different, I either gotta go to Jill, who's the captain responsible for it all, or I gotta go to 3 different lieutenants. What's the crime on daytime in Denbigh? What's the crime on evening in Denbigh? What's the crime at midnight in Denbigh? I don't know that that's the best structure. So I've got lieutenants that are bought into time frames. That's what they're responsible for. I'm a lieutenant, I'm responsible for what happens between 8 and 5. Where I want to go to, because the officers in the room, where I want to go to is if I could take those lieutenants, instead of say, I divide those beats into 2 sectors, and I put a lieutenant over 2 beats and a lieutenant over 2 beats, and I tell that lieutenant, you work whatever hours you want, but you are responsible for the Denbigh community. Day, evening, midnight. It is your area. It is your ownership. The officers that work those beats are your responsibility. When there's a community meeting, it's your job to be there. If there's an issue about business being hit, robberies taking place, traffic issues, you're responsible for everything. So instead of Jill having to oversee everything as the captain, now I kind of got 2 smaller captains that over areas. It's all about accountability, ownership, right? So then they direct their officers to do just what you're saying. We're having problems here, I want to put an officer in this area. And I've got to get away from K-9, there's 7 K-9 officers. I got to get away from K-9 driving around waiting for a call of a burglary or why am I not putting K-9 in areas where I'm having issues? If I've got traffic issues, why would I not put K-9 there? If I'm having some theft, right? Why would I not put my K-9 officers in the neighborhoods where I'm having thefts or car break-ins? Am I using those resources that we have? That's another way I would use our traffic division, right? Sometimes when you do traffic around areas you're having problems, people who want to commit those things, let me go somewhere else. But going to your point, so ownership and accountability is what I'm really trying to push.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the
No,
area, because I
you're
see them out
exactly
there. And it'd be nice too if they, if they were there, you could stop in and say, hey, are you having any,
Now,
and meeting the business owners or that kind of way in that area.
so one of the ways we do that is to go buy, it is expensive. We might have to buy an 89-cent notebook, right? But you have that at the counter, and if there's a business that's having thefts, Jill may say, precinct captain may say, this is a business we have some issues in, stop in, meet the owner, and sign the book. Your name and the time. Because I may want to know as a captain, how many visits did I have to this particular business? Oh, I was here 4 days, these are the time frames I went, right? So it forces them to interact. And then once they do it, they start getting it. They start to build a relationship and a partnership. And,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, the relationship,
You're exactly right.
communication.
Yeah.
Because if you know the person, it's much easier to communicate, just like anything out here.
Yes, the old officer,
Yeah.
officer friendly, right? The neighborhood officer,
Well,
right?
where I grew up, it was small, like in a small, and like I know, like say my alarm goes off accidentally at my house in the country.
Yep.
They call me, hey Dan.
Now, you know what?
This is where, I mean,
You know
I know
what?
it can't go that way, but I mean,
If
it's
I'm
nice
a
to know.
patrolman, you know what I'm going to say? Oh, it's something else I got to do until we do it, and then it's fine. Everybody, let me tell you 2 things. 2 secrets about law enforcement officers. Cannot go out of this room. We do not like change, and we do not like the way things are. You get it? Yeah. No, that's a great. That's where I want to get back. I want to get back to that ownership and being ownership. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if I could ask him a question.
Sure.
Tom, it's 9 o'clock.
One question. Go ahead.
Go ahead, ask your question, go ahead.
Chief Priest didn't pay my $10.
Oh.
It's nice to hear that you're implementing a lot of change. It's human nature to resist change, plain and simple. But with the change, have you looked at placing a holding cell, or, you know, this city's elongated, it's 22 miles long. Could you put a jail or a holding cell or something, you know, in the Denbigh area? And here's how you fund it. The petroleum savings between running from, let's say, the upper end of Denbigh to downtown Newport, how many times? Has anybody done a cost analysis on something like that? I mean, the fuel savings would, I think, be off the chart.
Every day.
It would keep folks more into their precincts.
And Ms. McMillan, that's a good point, because with this new DWAP, the Denbigh-Wawick area plan, there may be a newer facility for police and fire, and possibly that could be put into the plan of having a holding cell in that.
Make sure you bring it up.
So yes, it has been talked about, and we would love it.
It's talked about 20 years ago.
Yes, forever, it's gonna just.
Well,
keep
I don't have the
getting
money to
talked
do it, but I am all for it.
So let's just be honest though for a minute, all right? Anytime I change from the role from what we're doing from policing to now holding, medical, food, all that stuff is an additional liability for us. So the sheriff department has to be in, I'm not going to get into I can't be pulling officers off the street to put people and watch them, because we can't just leave people there. So I'd have to partner with the sheriff's office. So that's a whole nother entity and a whole nother move, and they're going to talk about facilities, and you put somebody up here at the facility and they get sick, who's taking them to the hospital? They've already got nurses, so that's a cost. That's a cost. And yeah, I don't know how city council and city managers would feel about that. I have not looked at that study to answer your question.
If I get arrested on Rich Neck Road by an officer,
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you pee before the ride.
they still have to drive me downtown Newport News.
That's okay.
Would it be a lot better to
It's gonna be cheaper than
drive me to
build?
It's gonna be cheaper than everything he just mentioned.
It's gonna be cheaper to keep going the way it is than rebuilding it. And then his backyard is
Right.
nobody wants a jail close to them.
Now, I will tell you, I don't know if Jill said it, but I would not mind a partnership with a neighboring jurisdiction who would say, we'll take individuals.
That's closer.
Yeah, because
this
it's
close.
right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's MOUs, that's city agreements, but
But that would be
I can
cheaper.
see more than building a facility. But I might ask Dr. Cherry if she'd like to come off of a couple million for our money. We're trying to get a school right now, right? But I think there might be some room about what you say about partnering with other jurisdictions. That might be an option.
We
Yes,
just
sir.
do one more question, then we'll tie it up. Yeah.
I like them to be taken to a big jail, because that way they know they've done wrong. What I would rather see is a youth detention room, so the youths do not have to take the ride downtown.
We have a juvenile
Stay good.
We have a juvenile
I did
detention.
not know that. I
Yeah,
did not
we have-
know that we had juvenile detention room
Yeah,
here.
we do it. No, not in Denbigh. It's downtown. It's not in Denbigh.
We should have one here in Denbigh.
I would debate that with you, because I think every time you start putting, now we want one in Central, now we want one in Denver, you're talking about resources. Now you got to hire more people to do that. That's a cost. And I hear you, and everybody's good with it until it's a cost, right? Somebody has to pay for all these things we want. And I hear you, but
Wouldn't you rather the parent come down and talk to the chief that, or the officer involved in Denbigh about his child? Wouldn't you want him to come down and talk to the officers who were there instead of the officers in a jail somewhere else that really that have a piece of paper and said, well, this is what happened, instead of, hey.
How many kids do you think are in a detention center?
I'm just talking about when you pick them up, So
Most of them don't, but most of the kids, 90% of the kids don't go to detention. 90 kids, it's a juvenile violation report. We're talking to a juvenile intake person. There is a very strict criteria that some may say is too lenient, some may say is too hard, but there is a strict criteria before they'll take someone intake. Everything else is done, it's released to their parent. Parent signs for it, we send the paperwork through, and they get a court date. Very few individuals are taken, and the cases that are put in detention,
They're serious.
they're serious.
They're serious, yeah.
I can tell you, from last night, one of the individuals in that vehicle was was a juvenile. Enough said with that.
Okay. Well,
good?
I just wanted to say thank you. We got
It's a
9
good
o'clock.
point,
And thank you for everything. It was wonderful. I wanted to give you the infamous
Oh,
DWBA
well, look,
umbrella, and it is raining today.
Did you
so-
see me walk? So I walked in this parade the other day.
You needed an
And I
umbrella?
needed an umbrella and like a big winter coat. But, we got
Oh, good one for
so
the day.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you all. I hope
Yeah,
I'm
thank
sorry
you.
for taking up too much time.
Yeah, perfect.
You guys are great. Any questions you have, if you submit them to, we'll get them addressed.
Okay.
Okay? Take care.
Is there any old business?